We played a little game called Who Am I? Had the Buccaneers taking Kenyon Sadiq out of Oregon, which, by the way, I love the player. And if you take him at pick 15, you're getting, the best player at his position. If the Buccaneers are going to try to replace Mike Evans in round number 1, I think that is the absolute worst thing they could possibly do. And I do believe in taking the best player available 99% of the times. This is going to be the 1% where, and what sucks for the Bucs is that this is going to be a very defensive draft ahead of them. But they're going to have to take the best defensive player available. On offense, I have no worries with them. I think they're going to be fine on offense. I'm not sweating the Mike Evans loss whatsoever. I know a lot of people are. I don't want to say I couldn't care less because I do wish Mike the person was going to be a part of this team. I mean, he's a legend here in Tampa Bay, but I don't think him going to San Francisco kills or derails this team one bit on offense. I mean, the guy wasn't even really available much last year anyways. Again, his history, historically, he was incredible, one of the best offensive, if not the best offensive player in this franchise. So I don't want it to come off like I'm disrespecting him. My expectations for the offense haven't changed. So for me, the biggest need isn't to sit here and try to replace Mike in round number 1, and that's why I wouldn't like the draft pick of Kenyon Sadiq. Love the player. Don't feel we need to replace him in round number 1. In fact, I was going through a list yesterday. I want to say it was on ESPN.com. They were ranking wide receivers, and there were 2 Buccaneer wide receivers that came up on the list before Mike Evans came up on the list, and that was Emeka Egbuka. He came up first. I don't have it in front of me. I don't know where he was at, but he was in like the 18, 19 range. And then Chris Godwin appeared ahead of Mike Evans as well. 1 slot ahead of Mike, so it wasn't like a huge gap or anything. But I think trying to replace, and I know this sounds like another insult, it's not, but trying to replace, your third wide receiver in round 1 just seems silly to me. So I'd be a little disappointed if that went that way. We're going to touch up more. I got a topic actually for Bucs fans in hour number 2 that we'll talk on. I want to get back into the Rays for a moment because a new poll just dropped in Hillsborough County. I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but it tells you everything you need to know pretty much in one sentence. People want the Rays in Tampa. They don't want to pay for it. And that's really been the entire fight, actually. So let me give you the numbers real quick. About 60% of voters say they support building a new Rays stadium in Tampa, which is a pretty strong number. And there's a clear majority saying, yeah, we want this. But then when you ask the follow-up question, how do we pay for it, that's when everything kind of flips. 64% say they do not want to use the community investment tax, that's the half-cent sales tax you've heard us talking about, to fund it. And even more telling, nearly 60% said they don't want any of that money going to a stadium. That sucks because, you guys heard Ken Hagan with T-Kraz on Monday, and we replayed the clip on our show yesterday. Without that, half-cent tax, it's going to be hard to get this done. Now, here's the kicker. 85% of voters say if you're going to use that money, it should go to a public vote. That is not what we want. Basically, people are saying, bring the race to Tampa, just don't use my tax money to do it. I think if it gets to a public vote, we're screwed. Let's just say what it is. It's going to have to be the politicians that save us. Isn't that scary? That might be the scariest thing you could ever ask for. Have politicians save you. So, look, I'll be real with everybody. I want the stadium, obviously. I'm a huge baseball fan, right? We're the home of the Rays. I need this baseball team here for myself personally, but also for the love of the game. And this is a really good sports town, despite what some people may say. And I know Cubs fans took over the stadium the last 2 nights. It's not a reflection on us. That's the Cubs coming here once every 2 years. Their fans are going to go. There's a lot of people down here from Illinois that come here and they want to go see their team play. I don't hate them for it. We'll take their money. Give me your donation. Thank you for supporting our team. And a lot of them are snowbirds, and they haven't left yet. They'll be gone soon, even though we do count on those people to help fill up the ballpark. But I want the stadium, and I think Tampa needs it. And if you're going to be serious about being a major league city, not just in name, but in reality, you have to have the conversation, and you probably have to get it done. You're going to have to use that tax. We are talking about keeping a Major League Baseball team in this region long term. You're talking about development around the stadium. You're talking about jobs, events. When it comes to the Buccaneers and their stuff, that's going to help bring Super Bowls here. This is going to become a destination people are going to want to come visit even more. Baseball helps that. And the current situation that's going on, it's not working for us. The Trop, the attendance has been an issue for years. And it's been hanging over this franchise for years. And that's what most people talk about when they talk about the Trop is the attendance and how bad the crowds are. And it is it's in a small little corner of the market. When you look at a map of Major League Baseball stadiums and you look at the population around every single stadium, the lowest population for people within a 10-minute commute is Tropicana Field. And so we already know the Trop's never going to work. At some point, you either got to commit to this new stadium or you got to risk losing the team. And I don't think people fully understand that part because it's easy to say, well, if we don't build it, they'll just stay where they are. No, that's not going to happen. Teams move. We've seen it before. And more often than not, you don't get those teams done, back. And I totally, completely understand. And I know we got some listening about the people who are pushing back on this, and they don't want this because when you hear the half-cent sales tax, it doesn't sound like much. But, that money is already being used for things that people actually see every day, roads, schools, infrastructure. And when you take, nearly $500 million to go towards a stadium, then people are going to start having a hesitation, especially when they were told that money wasn't going to go towards the billionaire stadium. So I think it's a fair question when you want to ask, we're going to take money away from all of these projects for this. I don't think it's people being anti-Rays or anti-sports. They're just looking at their priorities. But I think we need to continue to grow this city, despite people saying don't move here. And baseball helps do that. This stadium has to get done. And the community investment tax, that's going to be our only way to get it done. And so the fact that this survey says, we want baseball here, but we don't want to use this tax. We don't get our cake and eat it too. It's going to have to be funded by us. And I know it sucks. I know it's not fair in life. Most things aren't. But it has to be done. It's the only way. There's 10 other cities lined up to take our team. And it's unfortunate. 85% is the number of people saying this should go to a vote. That is the most important number in the entire poll that was done in Hillsborough County. 85% think this should go to a vote. Guys, if that happens, I think we're screwed. I had a crazy idea. I was telling my wife this morning, and I know this is never going to happen. Just legalize weed and pay through weed. I mean, it just makes the most sense. And I know that's not easy. That has to go through a bill and get it up there. But, man, that's where I'd raise that money from. You're worried about that money for the roads and the schools. Where can we make more money? Legalizing weed. And I know some people are against that too, but to me, that's how you could pay for all of this. And then just for fun, we'll make center field 420 feet. Now, I know that's not realistic, but I think there's other ways to raise this money that we're going to use in other areas. Raising taxes probably isn't the way to do it. Nobody's going to vote for more taxes. Now, we should be getting a vote. We are thinking around May 6th, May 7th. If it all plays out on time and nothing gets pushed back. Now, the city commissioners, or the county commissioners, they're like, we're not going to be on the timeline of the race. We're not going to let them dictate our timeline. We have to be ready. And I think they are going to have everything ready to go. And hopefully by May 6th and May 7th, we have a decision. But I thought that poll was interesting to see that, more than half the people here do want the stadium. But even more than that number don't want to pay for it with the taxes. And it just doesn't work that way. You can sit here and say the Rays should pay for it. I agree with you. They should. They're not gonna. They have all the leverage, and we have none. They are not leasing the Trop or extending the lease on the Trop because they don't want to give us any leverage. They're playing a good game. The Rays are running a presidential campaign right now. They are going around town, meeting people face to face, telling you how great the idea is, which it is, and they're winning people over, and they're trying to turn people against, the politicians. And I don't mean turn them against as in hey, they're bad people and we deserve that. Not in that way, but they're out there campaigning, telling you all the good things that are going to come from this. And they're doing a really good job. They've won my vote. I'm voting for it. I want it. I want the stadium. But if it comes down to, this 85% wanting a vote for it, we'd be so screwed. Now, it's not going to come down to that. It'll come down to the city commissioners, of course, or the county commissioners, of course. But I thought that poll was pretty telling there in the Tampa Bay Times. It's going to be interesting to see how all this plays out. I hope this is, I hope this is the last time we got to go through all this stuff. I hope after 20 years, it finally happens. We shall see. But I thought, I had to bring that. I saw it all over the internet yet last night. I wanted to bring the poll to the airwaves just to kind of feed you in on what was going to happen. All right, question for Buccaneers fans. I want to get back into football. We'll take a break from the stadium stuff. I got a football question that involves the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Bucs fans, I need you to be listening to the Nick Wise Show coming up next.